That's Dude.
That's Dude.
And welcome to Lazyboys Night.
Oh. That's like our go-to now.
Oh. There used to be woo. Now it's oh.
I don't even know why we started doing that.
Because it's fun.
Oh.
So terrible head, by the way. I apologize, but you got a big head too. But I still have some in here.
Name your sex tape.
Oh.
And so it begins.
So this is the
look
at it's called the So She Did Lavender Berry Pale Ale from the Thousand Islands Brewing Company. And there's a reason we're drinking this today, because this is our, we're a few days early, of course, but still, this is our Mother's Day episode.
Happy Mother's Day.
The can kind of seems, the can kind of seems a little bit of something a mother would drink.
Yeah, it looks motherly. Is that a word? Yeah, I guess so.
There's essence of lavender in here, right?
That's like usually we have different cans with all this like freaking like super animated illustrations and everything, and this one is just.
You know what that kind of reminds me of?
This is
like a Kleenex box.
I don't know if they want to hear that. So
no, but it's nice.
It's in a good way. It's soothing.
Way. Yeah,
it's something you want to go to.
We'll put the picture up so you can see. All right. See what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Put it sideways so it looks like a can.
There you go.
A can of Kleenex.
All right.
A can of Kleenex.
So here's a cheers to mothers everywhere.
Cheers.
It's just two guys talking. There they go again and saying anything. Talking about nothing. Nothing new to say. Talking anyway. So much to review. So let's have a cold brew. A cold brew. Everybody's talking. It's not anything. No one's listening. Talking about nothing. They're all yammering. I can't hear a thing. Nothing I can do. So let's have one more brew. One more brew.
You want to try it out now? Oh. The foam is super thick, man.
The foam is thick. It's got a very sweet aftertaste. It's
What kind of beer is it supposed to be?
Lavender Berry Pale Ale. So you've got a little bit of bitter of the pale ale, but you got the sweetness of the berry and the bouquet. Yeah, it's interesting. I think this is something that's worth trying once because it's very unique. I don't know that I'd have a ton of these.
No, but you know what? For Mother's Day, a nice Sunday afternoon.
I agree. You have a little Mother's Day brunch?
This is a nice afternoon beverage.
Yeah. I think
I'm kind of confused, actually. That's why I'm not saying anything. It's because I taste the IPA side of it, like far.
Yeah. You can have that little bitterness.
So it's almost. I feel like I'm walking in a nice field of lilacs and flowers and everything, and I'm sipping on an IPA, and I trip and I just swallow a whole bunch of flowers. And I'm just choking on flowers, but I still have the taste of IPA, so I'm confused right now because I'm about to die because I've been choking on all these flowers, but it's still a pleasant experience.
It is. It's a pleasant experience. It's a weird combination.
Recommend it, though.
But absolutely, give it a try.
Sure.
It's an interesting combination.
But
it's a very thick head.
Holy frick! It's almost like it's a what is it? When the malt shop ice.
Oh yeah, the floats.
Floats.
Yeah.
It's an ice beer float.
Interesting. All right. So
I'm confused, but I almost drank half of it.
In honor of, let's move the can back. I want to have access to
move back the can, man.
So in honor of Mother's Day, we were going to do a crappy bowl of mystery, and we still are. But I'm not going to pick a question from there. Production dude, suggested a very, very good question.
What are you doing,
Right, just let dude be. He suggested.
Why are you sitting down? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, back to work. We're paying big money for this.
No, we're not. We're not.
But he suggested, you might actually get a bonus
you
for
just
this.
said something
This is a
really
good
bad.
question.
Okay.
He suggested a very specific Mother's Day related.
Oh, is
topic.
that your question?
It is. It's Dude's question. A very
Oh,
specific
okay, I'm going to put this away.
Mother's Day
It's still a
topic.
crappy bowl, but there's not like an actual question from there, and there's a question from there.
Yes,
Cool.
that's right. So the question is, who do you think is the best TV mom? And by that, of course, we mean of all the sitcoms and shows that have been around since TV pretty
Damn.
much broke in the 50s up to now, there have been a lot of family-type shows.
Wow.
Who was the best TV mom?
How are you going to rate that? Like just in the
Well, it's just in
general
your
sense?
opinion.
Someone that pops right away?
Yeah, well, before I answer that, I have to set a few things up because my answer is probably going to be something from the 70s and 80s TV shows, and here's why. I was a kid then, so when I looked at TV moms then, I saw them as a mother figure.
Fair.
Whereas
yeah.
now, I look at these moms...
Watch it!
No.
Okay.
I see them as a family matriarch, but I see them
Okay.
as a wife and a mother
And?
a businesswoman
And?
and all sorts of other things. But they're not just a mom to me anymore because I don't look at it from a kid's perspective.
It's a
I
mom
look at
with
it,
benefits.
yes, I look at them from an adult perspective. So I don't consider them moms. I consider them fully fleshed out female characters.
Damn.
I know.
This
Whereas
is super deep.
I know. So my answer is probably going to be a show from the 70s or 80s because
Right.
even though there's awesome TV moms now, I don't see them as moms. I see them as strong female characters.
Okay. Yeah, but well, we'll see. We'll find out because I think throughout there's a very specific period in TV and probably even more so in sitcoms where the strong mother type
Yeah.
became one of the major roles in a lot of TV shows where the dad was kind of more of the fun idiotic thing, but
I'm
the
thinking
mom was
Modern
the intelligent. Okay, fair enough.
Just, I'm not saying that, but I think
No,
what you're
but
describing
that-
is
yeah.
like Modern Family, where Phil Dunphy is the goof, whereas Claire is the strong, intelligent,
Brilliant, that whole-
businesswoman,
yeah.
keeps the household
Family
together.
So that kind of image.
That fits with what you're saying, absolutely.
yeah.
All right, so,
So-
what is your opinion?
Well, as soon as you said that, really, my brain was going through like almost. Once upon a time, there's a thing called TV Guide.
Yeah.
Right? It was a little booklet you get every single week, and in TV Guide it would tell you exactly what shows were playing on what channel,
What time, and so it was
it
a
would
schedule
give
because you couldn't paper or watch
No.
on demand back then. It was
And there's
just
a little blurb of what the episode was going to
Yes.
be about. So my brain went to TV Guide, not in the literal sense, but I was flipping through different shows in my head trying to pick a mother figure and the first one I thought was Mrs. C.
Yes! I was thinking the same thing. Mrs. Cunningham from Happy Days, Mrs.
Happy
C.
Days.
Oh,
Why? Okay, that's going to be the interesting. You exactly the same.
that was my first. That was
No
my first
way.
instinct too.
I'm going through the TV Guide in my hand going. Brrrr, and Happy Days used to play. I love the show so much. I remember I used to play on Tuesdays. Tuesdays was a huge night for TV shows because on Tuesday nights you had Mork and Mindy. You also had Laverne and Shirley. You had Three's
Well, you had that
Company.
whole lineup, which
That
was all the
block
same
was like
production.
all
Oh yeah.
these huge sitcoms that lasted not necessarily forever, but in the conscious of people and on reruns.
Oh, yeah.
But Happy Days, Mrs. C.
Mrs.
I'm
C was
trying
the
to-
epitome
yeah.
of, and here's why to me she's
go
the
for
great.
it.
I know it's going to sound a little sexist. It's not. But Happy Days, even though it was played in the 70s, it was set in the late 50s up to early 60s because
Yeah.
it ran for what, like 9 seasons?
Yeah. So even back in the 70s, it was a retro show.
Yeah. And so she was the typical 50s housewife. But I didn't think she was great because she was a housewife. She stayed at home and cooked and cleaned. But the thing is, you could see she was still the glue that held the family together. And she cared about her kids,
Smart,
but beyond
savvy.
that, very smart, very savvy,
Yeah.
and knew how to handle her husband, knew how to handle the kids, but was always doing it with a good heart. She wasn't like a cranky, she wasn't like, no offense, because this is a character, not about the actress, not like a Roseanne kind of mom,
Yeah.
which was just blah, blah, bitching and blah. No, this was genuinely cared, but she saw the good in everybody, and one of the stars of the show was the Fonz, Arthur Fonzarelli, who everybody else saw as a hood. He's a tough guy, leather jacket, don't mess with the Fonz. She called him Arthur. She was the only one who could. She saw him for who he truly was, and
Well, isn't
she
he the
treated
only
him.
one that called her Mrs. C? Also, I don't think anybody else called her. Everybody else called her Mrs.
Miss
Cunningham.
He called her Mrs. C.
C and Mr. C.
Yeah, but
Because it was cool. Right?
he was cool.
Mr. C. Mr.
But
C.
she kind of adopted him in the family when the rest of the world wrote him off and treated him as an extra son and didn't care that he rode a motorcycle and wore a leather jacket, because back then that was bad boy image. And for that, and to being the glue that kept the family together this whole time, and the big heart, to me, that made her the ultimate mom, because it wasn't about cooking and cleaning, it was about taking care of the family.
Yeah, because the only time you actually saw her doing, let's say, household chores, domestic chores, whatever you want to call it, was mostly during the meal time, right? So she'd bring the meal to the table. But even that, that image to me is iconic, because even today, when I go, let's say if I go have supper at my parents' place,
Yeah.
and having, my parents share a lot of the tasks, but when my mom is setting up the table or whatever, I have that flashback.
It's comforting, right?
It's a moment where this is done with unconditional love, and that the mother figure in this case, which is Mrs. C, but even within my own family, my mother is like, it's always about the family. So the meal represents so much. And I remember in Happy Days, they had the mini little kitchen, and had the dining room area next to the living room. And that was the time where a lot of the conversations happened during that meal. But a lot of times they'd be talking, and she would bring stuff over and have her input. But the character, the way she played it, and do you remember even the name of the actress that played Mrs.
Marion Ross.
Marion Ross, of course.
Marion Ross.
So Marion Ross, as an actress, was able to convey love.
Oh, yeah.
Which was crazy, because sometimes you didn't even have a speaking role in the moment where there's all this stuff
And
happening.
she was funny, too.
And, she was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
She's
But there was so much heart.
Unreal.
So much
But
heart.
she played it so
yeah.
well that you, and I remember this fondly when I was a child, you could feel how much she just wanted everybody to be together, everybody to get along, and it was just that nice, homey, being happy to be in that house.
And
she made it just nice to be
Mr.
there.
C was also, I think, one of the top TV dads.
Yeah, he'd be thrown in there for sure.
Yeah,
Guaranteed
but,
he's in the top 10 of all time.
So I think we both agree on Mrs. C, but let's explore a few others just to compare. I'm thinking
I
another.
can't believe you have the
I
same
know.
one as me. That's
and I'll
crazy.
tell you, and this comparison, I think, will tell you why I think Mrs. C is number one. I'm going to go fast forward a little to the mid '80s. One of the biggest sitcoms of the era.
Wait, Family Ties?
No.
No, okay.
No. Around there, Family Ties is also up there. I'm going to talk about probably the biggest sitcom in the mid '80s was The Cosby Show.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Felicia Rashad, who then became Felicia Ayers Allen, or was it vice versa? Anyways, married name, boom, we'll check it out. Played Bill Cosby's wife, Claire Huxtable,
Yeah.
to his Heathcliff Huxtable. And let's all forget about the modern Bill Cosby
We're
stuff.
talking about the TV show.
Back then, Bill Cosby was the TV dad. And while she was a good mom and she was a career woman, she was a powerful lawyer and all this, and they broke the stereotypes of black families being poor and ghetto and slang and all this, and they were a very upper class, successful family. To break those barriers, good for them. While she was a great mom, the show was still a vehicle for Bill Cosby.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And she was
his
completely,
comedic style, right?
And she was pretty much still a secondary character. She played it beautifully, but the parenting always fell down to Bill and his words of wisdom as opposed to her. Whereas Mrs. C, even though she wasn't the star of the show, the star really wound up being the Fonz.
Yeah.
Mrs. C still brought out that motherly thing that I think Mrs. Huxtable was never written for. I'm sure the actress could have pulled it off, but it was not written that way. So let's explore Family Ties now. What do you think about Family Ties?
Well, what I remember a lot about Family Ties was the fact that this family had, and that's one of the main characters in that show became a mega superstar.
Michael J. Fox as Alex P. Keaton.
Exactly. So Alex P. Keaton was a phenomenon, but his character was so outrageous in his views, and he was so a polar opposite of his parents that were peace and love.
Yeah, if you don't know,
Old
they
hippies.
were old hippies, and
Old
he was a
hippies.
young Republican. Go Reagan, go!
So even at a young age, he was always wearing a tie and a full suit, and he'd go to school with a briefcase.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember those parents, but I remember his mom specifically, because even though her beliefs, her son held none of it.
Yeah.
She had, like, they were, like I said, polar opposites, a 180 of each other. It never, ever changed how she felt. And she had a lot of airtime.
This
and
is
she had
true.
great stories.
This is
But,
true.
to me, sorry, from memory, it was the first time that I could see a child and a parent, when in any other situation, would have been arguing all the time, and it would have been chaos and everything. But her character, the way it was written, the way it was played, was she lived up to peace and love.
Yeah.
And she shared that on her son that did not believe in any of that.
Unconditional love and support, regardless of how conservative
Yeah.
and opposite his views were. And then the daughter, Alex's sister Mallory, was not the brightest bulb in the bunch, but she still loved her children equally and always treated them with the respect.
Mallory had the super sweet
This is
heart.
true. She was a great
And then
mom.
the youngest one,
Jennifer,
yeah,
played by
completely different, very sporty and
Tina
had her
Others.
own thing. And,
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that her kids were, all three of them were so completely different. But she could, portray again loving her children and being there to nurture them and help them through difficult times, good times, whatever.
You know what? She's a good runner-up. I think
She
she's
was
a great
fantastic. And on top of that, she was the first TV mom that I had a crush on. By the way.
She was very attractive.
Yeah, so it was
Very,
like,
very attractive.
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
But just the fact that she's a brilliant woman.
Yes.
I
think she was an architect.
Yeah,
She was a housewife for a
Yeah.
while, but then went back to work as an architect.
So, and then didn't he stay? Anyways, they switched roles in the house. I can't remember those details, but they used to switch roles because they were both professionals.
Yeah, funny thing, the dad, who was such a peace-loving ex-hippie, is also the lead in the Tremors series, with the exception of the first movie that starred Kevin Bacon, where he's
Yeah,
like
but
a
he's in there.
gun-toting.
He's not-
still in there. He's just not the lead.
Yeah, but he plays a massive role in
For
there.
all the sequels, I think they made 7 movies in all. He's like gun-toting, blow up everything, redneck from it. It's hilarious.
Okay, so the Mother's Day episode, we're going to
All right, no, let's switch to Mother's Day episode.
Okay.
Worst TV mom.
worst TV mom.
Oh, I have the answer right here.
Oh, do you?
Peg Bundy.
Oh,
Peg Bundy from Married with Children. Now, this is probably the worst family you could ever be a part of.
okay, yeah. So
Peg Bundy.
horrible family to start.
love the actress. Brilliant take
Yeah.
on it.
Oh my
Big
God.
red bouffant hair, skin tight leather print pants, lazy AF,
Yeah.
mooching off her husband who barely makes any money, not a
Could not
parental
care less
responsibility
about her
in the
kids.
world, really just cared about watching TV and eating bonbons.
Yeah.
Oprah and bonbons was pretty
Yeah.
much her life, and spending a very little of Al's money because that's all he had.
But she played it well.
Oh,
it was
she
written
was
well. 'Cause
brilliant.
the whole point of it,
Oh yeah,
I think it was that to create the worst possible mom
the worst family in America,
that
basically.
you would not hate.
No, oh, she was still lovable. She was
She's
hilarious.
super funny.
Yeah, Katie
And
Segal,
for
who
some
played her.
reason,
Oh.
you're still. Well, because they were a complete dysfunctional family. It was the first real dysfunctional family.
Oh yeah,
Even
TV had never seen anything like that then.
at that moment in time, they were a couple of years ahead of the Simpsons.
This
So
was
the dysfunctional
shock value.
They were huge just for the shock value of how
Oh, yeah.
dysfunctional. Because prior to that, we were talking about the Huxtables, and all these
Wholesome. and-
very nice, and by the end of this episode, we'll resolve all issues, and we'll all love each other, and there's gonna be this nice background music at the end. But this was now throwing everything out the window,
Oh
man.
yeah, it just
And it's
every
just
episode
insanity.
you just felt bad for Al Bundy,
Yeah.
who was just the most pathetic guy
Yeah.
ever. So I think that's the worst TV mom. What do you think?
No, 100%.
All right,
100%.
all right. So number 1, Mrs. C.
See? Close number
Bottom,
2?
close number 2 is her name was Elise Keaton off of Family Ties.
Yeah.
And at the very bottom of the barrel, Peg
Peg
Bundy,
Bundy.
played beautifully by Katie
Yes.
Segal.
Bravo.
Anyways, all right.
You played the worst mom
So-
ever very well.
Here's to hoping that you have a Mrs. C and not a Miss Bundy as a mom.
We hope, we wish, we want you to
Happy
have that.
Mother's Day.
Bonne
Oh.
fête des mères.
Like, share, subscribe. Please send us your comments. Who do you think was the best TV mom ever?
Oh, and by the way, if you've noticed by now, we're still commercial free.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so
Please help
we
us
don't
change
need-
that.
we don't need to add more subscribers because it's commercial free for all the ones that are subscribed right now. But if you like commercials and you want to see some, keep sharing so we can have more subscribers. Yeah, you like commercials, right? You can click after 5 or 10 seconds.
I think this was a commercial about getting commercials.
Okay,
Thank you.
so,
Happy
we're
Mother's Day.
here. Bonne fête des mères. Cheers. On vous aime beaucoup. Je t'aime beaucoup. Bye. See you next time.